Sir, you are muted, sir.
Okay, fine. So let us recapitulate what we have seen in the last class, where we have started off discussing about the implementation of the digital circuits or digital systems with the help of FPGAs. Generally, these FPGAs are under the category of PGAs. So there the different implementations are there. Okay, so normally, as we have seen that predefined structures that are used in order to implement a large functionalities. If the digital system complexity is more and more, and the people are not interested to go for dedicated hardware for that one, because once the if you're using the dedicated hardware, generally that hardware is meant for that one only. So therefore, we have to use that function only for that particular purpose. So if you want to go for the general purpose, then we have to use a different thing. Okay. So therefore, in order to customize or maybe different functions can be implemented with the help of these PLDs. Okay. So let us consider what are the different PLDs, what are the PGS that are available. Okay. So generally, let us consider here is the PLDs. Okay. So what do you mean by PLD? Programmable logic device. Okay. So which are capable of implementing the sequential network, whereas PGAs are more flexible and more versatile to implement the complete digital system on a single chip. Okay. So therefore, the PLDs, of course, this is also one kind of PLD, but different. The architecture is different for the PGA and PLA. Sorry, PLDs. Okay. So generally, if the complexity of the system is very small, okay, so then it's better to go for the PLDs. Normally, we started from. Sorry. Normally, we started from PLA. Sorry. What is this? Just a second. Just 1 second. Okay. Different PLDs that are available. So generally we started from PAL and we go for the PLA and we go for the CPLDs. Okay. So therefore, in this particular PLDs, generally we use end plane. Okay, end planes, or maybe OR planes that we normally used. Okay, so just we have to program this kind of end plane and OR plane. We can construct any number of functionalities. Okay, so as the complexity of the system is increases, so these are not that much advisable. Therefore, we go for different type of PLDs. Normally, we can call it as a PGS, programmable gate arrays that normally we use. So, which are under the category of FPGAs. Okay, field programmable gate arrays are under the PGAs. Okay, what we can see here is that we are going to look at the array of identical logic cells. Array of identical logic cells that we will consider. That means in the last class we have seen CLBs. So normally the identical CLBs that we need to use in an FPGA. Okay, so therefore these cells as well as their interconnects. Okay, from connecting from one logic cell to another logic cell, we have to use the interconnects. So these logic blocks as well as these interconnects must be programmable. Okay, so what do you mean by a programmable? What is the term the programmable? We will see in shortly, in a short manner, in short time. Okay, so these particular whenever the instant of the time we are able to program these kind of things, these are called field programmable gate arrays. These are called field programmable gate arrays. Okay. So now let us see what is the other important things. Okay. Now let us consider who has invented this programmable logic devices. So the programmable logic devices are invented in Xilinx. So in the year 1985. So the essential components, what are the essential components are there in this FPGA architecture? Okay, we can see this is an FPGA, for example, this is an FPGA chip. Okay, so in this FPGA chip, essential components are input output blocks. Okay, so therefore these are the input output. This is the one input output block. This is another input output block like this. So through entire IC, there will be how many number of inputs are there, how many number of outputs are there. For each and everywhere, there will be a input output blocks will be there. Okay, so these are called input output block. Another one is program configurable logic blocks. So configurable logic blocks, it is a combinational logic block or maybe a consisting of memories. Okay, the flip flops will be available, multiplexers will be available, lookup tables are available, all these are available. Okay, so therefore this is a functional logic diagram that is available in this one. In this functional logic diagram or in this functional block, we can implement any function. Next one is programmable interconnects. So from one logic block to another logic block, if you want to provide a connection, we have to use the programmable interconnects. Okay, so programming in FPGA, which means that just providing the necessary inputs for the connection. That means in order to in order to establish a connection from one end to another end, this is the one end, this is another end. If you want to make a connection from one end to another one, from A to B, if you are able to establish this connection, this is simply we can call it as a programming. As simple as that. Nothing is there in it. Okay. For example, if you want to connect from one logical block to another logical block here, okay, therefore certain kind of connectivity program mechanism we have to establish here. Okay, or from one interconnect to, for example, we have one interconnect is here. So this interconnect is connected to, for example, some other interconnect is available here. So from this interconnect to this interconnect, if you want to make a connection, there also we need certain kind of programming technology, either EPRAM or maybe different methods that we can use. Okay, so not only the programming the logic block, there is also provide the programming for the interconnection blocks. So what exactly the meaning of the programming a logical block? What does it mean? For example, if you take a logical block here, for example, this also will clear morely in the next after some time. For example, if this is a CLB, for example, okay, so I want to implement full adder here now. Okay, so after that one, after I have implemented the full adder, I want to implement, for example, a multiplexer, for example, multiplexer. So I have to erase the content of the information related to the full adder. I have to introduce the information related to the multiplexer. Okay. Therefore, erasing something and introduce something in that particular logic block is called programming in that one. Programming, we can call it as. Therefore, there must be a programming for CLBs. There must be a programming for programmable logic interconnects. There must be a program for IO blocks as well. Okay, that means that so whatever the content that is available in FPGA, that will be reconfigurable. Okay, that means that once if you use for one particular purpose, you can erase everything, then you can configure to another values, another information, so that the FPGA can be acting according to your second annotation. Right, so therefore each and everything, whatever the essential components are there, those are all are programmable. So programmable in the sense, so provide the necessary connections according to your logic diagram. Okay, according to your logic diagram or logical circuit, as simple as that. Okay, next we consider another one. So what are the different, okay, what is this? What are the different architectures are available? Okay, just let me wait. Let me check once. Why it is not showing properly? Okay, this is the only thing. Okay, what are the next one is, what are the different architectures are there for FPGAs? So different architectures can be proposed by different vendors actually. Okay, so for example, we consider that for example, this is one CLB. Okay, so as I mentioned that the logical implementation is entirely done on CLBs only. Okay, so therefore in this, but if your CLBs are arranged in this fashion, this is called matrix based array. So therefore the identical components we are using in order to establish the FPGA. Okay, so therefore array of CLBs that we are using in this matrix form. Okay, that is called matrix based FPGA architecture that some people will use to realize an FPGA. Some people also use row based also. Okay, row based means so all the cells they are putting the CLBs, all the CLBs are placing side by side, and something like this row based or something. So this is the one row, this is the second row, okay, this is the third row. So in between that one, there is a possibility of interconnections. Okay, so why this kind of different architectures are there for FPGA? So in order to increase the speed of the circuit, the connection, the best way to provide the connection between the CLBs. Okay, how fast that we can do it. So for the speed purpose, they are having a different architectures people will use. So depending upon one particular vendor, they will choose any one of the FPGA architectures. So some people will use a hierarchical. So in the hierarchical case, we have to use a group of logic blocks with local interconnect, something like this. So here we have to use a set of logical blocks are connected in this way. Set of logical blocks are connected in this way. So therefore, these through the global interconnecting network, they are connected to each other by that one. So another one is a sea of gates. Okay, here also there are the different ways. The CLBs are connected in the different ways. Okay, so therefore the logic blocks will be connected in this fashion, and they will make the connection among the different components. Okay, so therefore what the point here is that the FPGA architecture is not unique. Okay, so there are the different ways are there. Depending upon the vendor, they will develop the FPGA according to them. Okay, so the ultimate goal for this one is they want to, they want to improve the performance of the FPGA. That means how fast we can program the circuit, how fast the combinational blocks, so CLBs are connected when they're giving the input signals. So depending upon that one, variations will be available, right? So as I mentioned that different vendors are there actually in the market. Okay, so normally we talk about FPGA, field programmable gate arrays. Okay, so in this field programmable gate arrays we normally considering. So some PLDs also there in the literature. So one is called the complex programmable logic devices, CPLD. This is also there in the syllabus, we look at that one. Another one is called sequential programmable logic devices. So these are meant for the sequential circuit execution, sequential circuits. For the implementation of the sequential circuit, people will use sequential PLDs, but for the sequential and combinational, people will use this one. Its limitation is very small. Okay, so but large functions can be implemented in FPGA when compared to the CPLDs. So you can see here what is the density of the SPLD. Only few hundred gates only available. Here 500 to 1200 12,000 gates are available. Here you can see from 3000 to almost above, more than 5 lakhs 5 lakh gates will be available. Therefore, as the number of gates are increases, more number of functionalities can be implemented, as simple as that. Okay, so one of the important advantage of using this PLD is that it is possible to predict the time. It is possible to predict the timings, but it is difficult to predict the timing of the signals flow in this particular FPGA. So that point also we will see after some time. Okay, So the main vendors who will actually, what is the main companies that they are designing these FPGAs are SPLDs for lattice semiconductors, suppress CMDs that people will use. For CPLD, Xilinx and Altera. They are the topmost vendors. They are making the CPLDs. The FPGA, Xilinx is the first one. The second one, Altera. The third one is Lattice Semiconductor. Fourth one is Actel. So these are the companies. They are interested on making the FPGA ICs, integrated circuits. Okay, so different versions are also there. Okay, people will started off using direct. Xilinx is a direct version they have implemented. Later they have gone for Vertex, Spartan, Altera. Okay, so something like this. They are the different versions they have got. There are different families are there. Okay, so the depending upon one particular, and depending upon your application, we choose one particular FPGA, and we want to use that FPGA. Okay, so when compared to one family to another family, certain additional logic blocks will be added for more logic to implement. Okay, that's what we have to remember. Okay, so therefore, for example, you consider the Xilinx vendor. So these are the PG products: Spartan 2, Spartan 2E, Spartan 3, Vertex 5, Vertex C, Vertex 7. So these are all our FPGAs. Okay, these FPGAs are from the Xilinx. So similarly, Altera has got ACX1K, APEX2, Flex 10K. So in our syllabus, Altera 10K is there. That means it's asked CLBs and everything that we need to talk about here. Okay, so the Xilinx already we talk about any one of the because all the FPGAs from the Xilinx will follow the same architecture. So we have different architecture shown you, right? So the same architecture used for the Xilinx, but Altera will be different thing. So what is the Altera FPGA look like? Later we will see after some time. Okay, so in the lattice semiconductor, these are the different sorry. So these are the different ICs, FPGA ICs. Okay, so these are the different depending upon the different vendors. Okay, so you can also identify the number of LUTs. Okay, the number of lookup tables available in this one. So here you can observe Spartan 2 when compared to Spartan 2, Spartan 3 has got 50K gates are there. That means I can say simply we can call it as lookup tables. Okay, and 600K lookup tables or maybe gates are available in this one. Okay, so when compared to that one, Spartan 3 has got more logic is available. So the point is very simple. So when we go for one FPGA to another FPGA, so they are going to introduce more number of CLBs. Okay, now I can say that more number of lookup tables as the more number of lookup tables are available, therefore more number of input output devices are also available. And the switching connectivity, programmable interconnects are also a different technique they will use. Okay, but the core point is that when we move from one particular FPGA to another particular FPGA, the important thing is that the CLBs are most important. How many number of CLBs are there in that CLB? Okay, how many number of what is the size of the lookup table is the most important one. Okay, they are focusing mainly on this one, right? Fine. So let us consider one particular FPGA exclusively for us. So that is called Xilinx 300 series FPGAs. As I mentioned in the previously, you can see Xilinx, the initial cases, they have used the Xilinx 300 series, 400 series. Later they came to the Spartan, Vertex, Vertex, so something like this they have gone for. Initial days they have got one particular Xilinx FPGA, that is a 3000 series FPGA. Okay, so in the 3000 FPGA, one particular exclusive FPGA is XC3020 FPGA. So therefore, so we have to concentrate on this particular architecture, how the CLBs look like, how the interconnections will be there, and how the how the input-output buffer, input-output devices are there, input-output blocks are there that we have to study in this particular series. Okay, so first of all, we have to understand that it consisting of 64 CLBs. It consisting of 64 CLBs. So as I mentioned that how many CLBs are there, usually those many number of input output blocks will be there. Okay, so that means that when you take when an FPGA something like this, so how many CLBs are there? So from 0 to 64 CLBs are there. Okay, 63. So that means 64 CLBs will be there in it. Okay, so each and every CLB, what is the size of the lookup table also, we will now look at that one. Okay, so before going to that one, so whatever the place, whether it is the CLB or whether it is an interconnect, okay, whether it is interconnect can be connected to the logical blocks or interconnect that is connected to the input output block, whatever it may be. So that means a interconnection is required. So in order to program that interconnect, what we have to use, we have to use one configuration memory cell we have to use. Okay, so where exactly this will be useful, we will also discuss that point. Okay, one memory block is required. For example, so I'll say here, for example, this is the block that I want to activate. So if you want to activate this one, it must be connected to one particular memory cell. Okay, that is called configuration memory cell. Okay, so this device will be active. So over an FPGA, if you want to make use of this particular component, that will be connected to a memory cell. Okay, that means that based on the value that is available here, based on the value that is programmed in this one, it allows us to take this particular component. Okay, so what is this memory component? That's what we can observe here. Okay, so this is actually a SRAM shell. Okay, so simply say, okay, so this is what we can consider. So this is the memory cell. So let us see what is this memory cell is actually, how it look like. Okay, so this is what we normally considered. So this is simply a memory cell. This is actually a memory cell. Memory cell. So what is there in it here? So we want to send the data into the memory. So this is what actually the memory is. So therefore back-to-back connection of the two inverters will be considered for the memory cell, right? So everybody knows this one. Feedback back-to-back connection of the inverters can store information. We have seen already. So we want to send the information into this particular latch or this particular feedback by using this particular transistor. Okay, so therefore whenever this transistor's write is high, for example, then the data will enter into this one. Whenever the write signal is equal to 0, then this transistor is disconnected and the information is stored within this particular memory cell. So as long as you are not writing anything into this particular in the feedback, the same value will be remains there. We can take the output either complemented form or uncomplemented form, it doesn't matter. Okay, so therefore what do you mean by the programming of this memory shell, which means that whether we are allowing this particular memory whether we are loading the information within the memory shell or we are not disturbing the content of the memory shell. Okay, so therefore that's depending upon whether we are writing the right signal or not. Okay, so depending upon this value, by setting the right signal, we can say that we are whether we are programming or not. Okay, so if I say that it can be anything, 1 or it may be 0, it can be allowed. Okay, for right signal. So if you are assigning that 1 to 1 means, that means we are programming that one. We are assigning to 0 means we are programming that one, right? So this is how this is the memory shell is required to provide the to establish a connection between the CLBs or between the programmable interconnects or between the CLB to the IO block or IO block to the interconnections, whatever it may be. Okay, is it clear? Okay, next. So let us go for what do you mean by CLB? Okay, so as everybody knows that it's a configurable logic block. It consisting of some combinational circuits. Okay, some combinational circuit. What are the combination circuits we have? Lookup tables, LUTs, and multiplexers. We have seen already. It's a block consisting of lookup table, LUTs, as well as some memory. Sorry, some multiplexers. Not only that one, two flip flops are also available. Flip flop 1 and flip flop 2. In the last class we have seen. Okay, now let us consider what is the lookup table. So in the last class, to lookup table also we have defined. So lookup table is something like this. This is a 2-input lookup table. Okay, it is a 2-input lookup table. It consisting of SRAM shells. Okay, it consisting of SRAM shells. So if any two variable function, for example, A and B are the two variables, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, output is defined here. Okay. So initially what is there, that means the output, whatever the output of the logic block is that we have to store. That means this is the fields actually. This is the SRAM field. This is the one SRAM field. So this is the SRAM field. It's a memory shell. Okay. So this memory, so what we have seen in the previously, whatever the thing that we have seen this previously, this is a memory shell where we can store an information there. Okay, so therefore this is the place where it is possible to program this one depending upon the output of the logic function. What is the logic function here? For example, you consider this is the one. So its logic output is 0, 1, 1, 0 is output. Just we have to place the output of a particular function in the memory fields. That means this is how we have to program. This is how we have to program. So therefore the contents are predefined here. The output, this memory cells are filled with output of the logic functions. So that is how we are making the programmable. So programming the thing means this is the one. Okay. So the question is that, so what is the importance of using the output at that point? Okay. So instead of calculating the output by the logic function, just we are storing the output directly. For example, if I want to store if I want to calculate f, f is actually a complement into b plus b complement into a. Okay, this is what the function. So I have to use one exclusive OR gate, and this will be acting as that one. Okay, but the question is not like that. We are not doing that. That means there is some kind of calculations are involved here. So we are not bothering about this one. Just what I'm doing is that whatever the output is there for the function, just I want to store that one. So that means if you want to, for example, depending upon suppose A and B, these are the signals, right? A and B. Depending upon the signals A and B, I'm just referring to that value, not calculating. That is referring to that value. For example, A is equal to 0, B is equal to 0 means first value will be referred. If A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 1, for example, second is referred. So therefore, so when the calculation requires a lot of time, actually, the time dependent calculation is a time dependent. Okay, whereas taking something from that available thing is take less time. Okay, therefore it is called referred. What we can say that referred. We are referring some output values rather than calculating. So that is what the advantage of using the lookup tables. Are you getting me? What is the difference between the lookup table and the general way of representing your circuit? Okay, just we are referring the output of the functions depending upon the input variables. Otherwise, we have to do the calculations. So therefore, that is the most advantageous advantage that we have considered in this FPGAs. That means lookup table is the most effective way in order to implement the logical circuit when compared to the actual implementation of this one. Right? Fine. Now, so what is the CLB is exactly look at in this particular 3020 FPGA. Okay, so this is actually the architecture that normally used in CLB. That means, as I mentioned, that we have, for example, is in FPGA, we have different types of CLBs are right there. One CLBs look like this. So it looks somewhat difficult to understand, but let me explain this one in the easiest manner. Okay. So you can see the CLB consisting of 5 points, important points. One is five logic inputs. Okay, it allows the 5 input variable function. It can implement 5 input variable. Okay, that actually this is called combinatorial block, or it is called actually the heart of this CLB. This CLB consisting of generally lookup table. We can say that as simple as that. It's a combinatorial logic function, or we can call it as a lookup table. So what is the size of this lookup table? So it consisting of 5 input variable function it can consider. Okay, just as a small modification they have done here. Just wait. So a small modification they have done when compared to the conventional lookup table. but this lookup table will take or this combinatorial logical function will take 5 input function. So any 5 input variable function can be implemented in this particular CLB. That's what we have to remember, right? So this input will go directly to an output. This input will go directly to an output, NX, and it will go directly to an output also Y. That means that, so this CLB consisting of 2 outputs. So we have to consider it consisting of 2 outputs. So the CLB consisting of is a 5 inputs it can take, and it can produce 2 outputs. That's the thing that we have to remember. Okay, and in order to facilitate the sequential circuit execution, so it consisting of 2 flip-flops. It consisting of 2 flip-flops. So this is the flip-flop number 1. This is the flip-flop number 2. Okay, flip-flop number 1, 2. 2 flip-flops also will be there. So what is the input for this 2 flip-flops? You can understand that point. So the flip-flop output can be the three times that we can get it there. Okay, so from here you can see F is one input, DAN is one input, G is another input. Okay, so the one input is from the combination, the first input of this one and the second input of this one also. We consider the second input also. And apart from this one, data in externally available input signal also will take into consideration. External signals also will take into consideration. So therefore, this will be the input for the D flip-flop. Okay, so therefore, it has got one DAN signal. One DAN signal is also having. Okay, so since we have a clock signals, these clock signals are actually connected by the clock input signal. Okay, either positive edge or negative edge. So therefore, this is the clock input signal we need to consider. So therefore, one clock input signal is available. So for the flip-flops, for the clock signal, and the clock enable is also available. Okay, so sometimes it is possible to use the clock enable signal. A clock enable signal is nothing but the gated logic is the concept is there. So that means we are not allow the direct clock signal to the multiplexer, clock directly to the flip-flops, but instead we have to consider the clock will be allowed with respect to other signals. Okay, so other signals are available, then only the clock is allowed, clock is affecting the system. Otherwise the clock is not able to affect the system. Okay, the enable clock is also we have to use either the CB in this way or maybe like this. So I will show you this one in the for short while. So just look at that one. Okay, so the clock enable is also there. Of course, the reset signals also will be there. Okay, so the clock enable is there, and of course there is a possibility of the reset signal. Reset RST is also will be there. Okay, so therefore these are the essential input and output for any combinational logic block, right? So any combinational logic block is looking like this in this particular series. Okay, just remember another point. Okay, so as I mentioned that how do we implement our circuitry within this particular CLB? So that's depending upon at each and every place we can see some kind of flip-flops are available. This is one flip-flop, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eight flip-flops are there. Okay, so what is the responsibility? So it can allow the input signals or it allows the input signal from the other source also. So therefore the multiple input signals are available. So at a time, depending upon your programming, depending about what kind of input signal we have to take from existing inputs, that is decided by what is the program, what is the memory cell information that is available, that decides that one. So for example, let us consider in this way. For example, let us consider it in this way. So here is the memory cell. Okay, here is the memory cell. So here is the memory. What is the memory cell here? Is that configurable memory cell? That's we have defined earlier. So what is this configurable memory cell? Depending upon the value of this one, for example, this value is equal to 0, it can take this particular information, or if this value is equal to 1, it can take this information. So that means it allowed this information whether to go outside or not. So therefore, these are the configuration memory cells that each and every place that we have to consider. So these configure memory cells will decide which input has to take. Okay, so that we should not, that we have to remember in this way. So that's why we have to program these memory cells that are available in it. Okay, so we have to consider these memory cells. So we have to programming in the sense means what input signals we need to consider among the different input signals. That's what we have to remember. Clear? Clear. So therefore, depending upon the input signals, we need to consider in this way. Fine. So let us consider another one. Okay, so let us talk about some more detailed discussion about the combinational combinatorial logic function. Okay, so how do we use this combinatorial logic function? Let us give some importance on this. Okay, so here there are the three possible functions that can be three mode of operations can be done by the combinatorial logic function. Okay, so one is called FZ mode. Next one is called B is F mode. The third one is called FZ FZM mode. Okay, so these are the three different modes that we can use the combinatorial logic function. Okay, so one is nothing but FZ mode. Let us consider an FZ mode. So it has got of course this CLB, that means that combinatorial logic function consisting of two four variable functions are there. So any function that has four variables can be implemented here. Okay, and it will produce one output is F, that is also G. So what you have to remember is that since actually it accepts the five inputs, right? How these five inputs are distributed, that's what we should know. So in this FZ mode, so A signal, first signal is directly connected to the first input of this one. Okay, and that is also one input to the next one also. Okay, so the input A is connected to the one direct input for the four variable functional block. Similarly, we have to consider D and E. It can take any one of the signal input variable. Either the D it can take it or E can take it. Can be another input signal. Can be another input signal. Okay. So similarly here also we need to consider D and E. So remaining two variable functions, where we get these two functions from, one is from either the B we can take it, okay, or we can take it from QX we can take it, or we can take it from the QY also we can take it. Okay, so one is something like this. So it is taking any one of this one, either the B, QX and QY. For this one, QB, XCY. So these are the two variables it can take it from that one. Where we will get the QX and QY, so where this information we are getting, so from this one we can observe. So this is called QX. Okay, so this is called QX, this is called QY. So these are the information that we'll take. Is it clear to all of you? So therefore sometimes whenever you are implementing the sequential circuit, so we have to connect it by the feedback notation. So we have to connect it by feedback connection also. Okay, so therefore this is the way in this particular mode the functions are implemented. Okay, so this is called FZ mode. Therefore you can implement your combinatorial logic function, or you can configure the configuration logic block with the help of FZ mode. Okay, so in this FZ mode, so the input variables, where we are getting the input variables, are the most important way to look at that one. Okay, so that is an FZ mode. Similarly, if you consider F mode, okay, so in this mode, what it has got, so it consisting of only direct five variable function generator is available. In this, there is a direct five variable function generator is available. It will produce two outputs. So F and Z, something like this. And where the inputs are coming from, this one, A, one input is directly coming here, A, and D and E also, the fourth and fifth variables are also will come directly to the function. But for the B signal as well as the QB and QY, it can consider it will select these two variables either from B, QX and QY. Okay, So this is called FC mode, we can call it as. Okay, so by using this for the FC mode, a small 5 input AND gate to parity generator also we are able to implement the function. Okay, so starting from 5 variable AND gate to, for example, the parity generator also we can use this one. Okay, so another last operating mode of the CLB is nothing but FGM mode. Okay, in this one what we have to do, we have to use one multiplexer at the output side. It is similar to that of FG mode only, but multiplexer we have to use at the output side. That is why it is called FG multiplexer actually. So we have to use the multiplexer here. Okay, so this is the content that is required for the E. Okay, so now the input A is available for the first block as well as the remaining things are same in the similar to that of the FG mode. Okay, so D and this is also D I have to be used here. Okay, so the A and D are the common to the four variable functions. The B, QB and QI, these are all depending upon uh, the selection of the input variables. Okay, so therefore these are the different operating modes that are available in for the combinatorial logic function. Okay, you can fix one particular mode and you can operate that one. So which mode of operation is suitable, that is depending upon what kind of function that you are implementing. Okay, so whether you are implementing the end case logic functions or maybe that depends actually. Okay, anyone can be possible to do that one. Okay, just a second. Hello. Okay, now let us look at the flip-flops related information. Okay, so normally we have seen the one flip-flops there. Okay, just for the sake of simplicity, I'm showing this one. This is the flip-flop that we have seen, right? So in this flip-flop, what we can see, where we are getting the input to the flip-flops, as I mentioned, mentioned that from it is F, it is coming from F, or it is coming from direct input, or it is coming from G output. Okay, so these are the different places where we have to use the the flip-flops, right? So here, if you see, here if you see the flip-flop, something like this. So the flip-flop, actually the inputs are coming from all these things as I mentioned there. Okay. Okay, so here you see the multiplexers here. So the input is coming from the clocks are directly connected to the, sorry, the clocks are directly connected to the flip-flops here in this way. Okay, so direct clock input is available. So from the clock enable point of view, it can take the input from the external world. Okay, so therefore externally, if you want to connect any input to the multiplexer, so it is allowed through the clock enable input signal for the multiplexer. Okay, so therefore that is how we can take either the DN signal outside or we can store the information at the same time. Okay, this is also another possible way to say this one. Okay, therefore, depending upon if the enable signal is equal to 0, clock enable is equal to 0, the D input is fed here. Otherwise, it will be stored the previous value. So these are the flip-flop related information that we can see in the that particular series. Okay, so therefore, this is the one of the examples that we look at to implement the functions in the given FPGA. Of course, we have seen this one in the last class. Now let us look at the interconnects that is available in FPGA. Okay, so there are three type of interconnections are there. One is called general purpose interconnect. One is called general purpose interconnect. Okay, so this is follows the Okay, I think the time is up, and today we stop it here. And these interconnections and remaining things we will see in the next class. Okay. So, is there any doubt related to what we have seen so far? Anybody having any doubt?